Hi everyone, for this video I'm going to be talking about my Petit Matte palettes from Viseart, all 4 of them. And the reason why I'm doing this is because Viseart is a brand that not a lot of people talk about over here on YouTube or in other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And I do believe that they have one of the best formulas of eyeshadows in the market, and they're just not that well known because their reach is not as far and as wide as other brands in the market. Now I'm also very excited to try this out. Well, I've been playing around with it this past few days, ever since I got this, because I only have a few other eyeshadow products from Viseart, so I'm really excited to try them out and to see if it's very consistent, their formulation, their pigmentation, and their staying power on the eyelid. And I was actually initially planning to create one video for each of the palette, but while I was planning on doing this video today, I said I think that's going to be a little bit redundant because I'm sure I'm going to be describing each of the palettes maybe using similar words, and the only difference basically is that the color stories on these palettes are quite different. So I'm just going to share with you guys my thoughts on the palettes, and I don't think you need to buy all of them, not unless if you are a collector of Viseart eyeshadows. And it also depends on the way you put on eyeshadow or eye makeup on yourself, because each of this have different color stories, they evoke different feelings, and I hope that in me showing you this video you might have an idea if you are going to get any of these palettes or not. Now I only have 4 of the palettes here. I have the Editorial Brights, the Milieu palette, the Warm palette, and the Dark palette. Now I do not have the Cool palette and the Neutrals palette because when I bought these off of Beautylish, those were not available, but I think they are available right now. I just double checked it last night. Now each of these palettes costs $40, and this is the mini size or the travel size, and the regular size of this retails for $80. So at least now you understand why I got this, because first and foremost it's more affordable for me. Now as I said before, I've been wanting to try eyeshadow products from Viseart for quite some time now, and they are relatively new to my kit and to myself, so having smaller sized eyeshadow palettes like this is a great way to get to know the brand and their products. Alright, so at this point of the video, I'm going to be showing you guys swatches of each of the palettes on my arm so that you guys can have an idea on how these eyeshadow colors appear on the skin. First up is the Editorial Brights, and this is how it looks like all swatched on my skin. You guys can see how well pigmented they are and also how bright they look and how bright they appear, and it also gives you an idea on how you can actually use this. So although this is a very editorial kind of a color story, if you're playful with your eye makeup application, this is actually a great palette to have in your kit. And they're all matte, so it gives you the possibilities are endless. Okay, so let's go through the names one by one, and let's start with this color, which is called white. This is pink, red, lime, orange, raspberry, clover, yellow, grape, aqua, periwinkle, and azure. So as you guys can see, they have a certain kind of a powdery appearance on my arm, and they actually apply very smooth, quite buttery to a certain extent, but there are some colors here where it applies smoothly while others it doesn't. Alright, and the next palette that I have here is the Milieu palette. So this is how it appears on my skin. Look at these very nice moody colors. They actually look astonishing on my skin. So let's go through the names one by one. And this color here is called Chiffon, Latte, Cacao, Creme Brulee, Sorel, Dahlia, Roussillon, Grossier, Bay, Platine, Nude, and Penombre. Penombre. I hope it got that right. So that's how the Milieu palette looks on my skin. Very, very lovely color. So I like this. Like, you know, if you're someone who likes to do, you know, create eyeshadow looks based on the season, this is great to use during like the fall season. Very nice color. Very moody, very earthy. Next is a Petit Matte Dark Palette. And this is how it looks like on my skin, all swatched. Very, very, like, you know, very moody, very deep. And again, you have a lot of cool tone colors here on the pan, as you guys can see, and you have a few warm tones, so which is great if you just want to add, like, you know, some warmth or dimension into your eyeshadow look. Okay, so let's go through the names one by one. So you have here Toffee, Merlot, Myrtle, Hazelnut, Beaujolais, Minuit, Sienna, Curcumin, Forêt, Sepia, Persimmon, and Olive. Isn't it so nice? It's so lovely. It's a, well, truthfully, it's a very odd color story to me because I don't really use this kind of eyeshadow colors much when I am working. But you know, if you are someone who has deeper skin tones, like deeper than mine, this is actually great to use because these colors can just really help to define your eye makeup look. So pretty, look at that. And also the amazing thing with this is that the great thing, by the way, with Viseart palettes is that since these are all mattes, you can also use this, like, you know, to enhance your eyebrows, especially like, you know, this color. This is a very nice, like, you know, cool tone brown color. Look at that. You can use that if you just want to add some, like, you know, very soft emphasis on your eyebrows. And the last palette that I have here is the Warm palette. And this is how it appears on my skin. Look how beautiful the color story is. Very nice and very bright. Very alive. And it's not as moody as the other Petite Mattes that I have with me right now. And I do really love the color story of this palette. This will be my go-to palette for people who have skin tones like mine, like, you know, those very nice warm skin tones, especially if you want to create a very natural looking eye, you know, defined but not overly dramatic. This will be very great to use because, like, you know, the warm tones of this will just really go well with the warm tones of my skin. So let's go through the names one by one. So this color here is called Bure, Brioche, Brûlée, Croissant, Cantaloupe, Nutmeg, Bisque, Cidre, Mocha, Saffron, Flame, and Brick. So these are quite amazing. And if you also have, like, you know, blue eyes or green eyes, this will be also great for you to use because all of the warm tones here will just work with it will counteract with the cool tones of your eye and it will just really make your eye color pop out. Each of the palettes here come in like a cardboard type of packaging, but it has like a magnetic flap here, which kind of makes it very, very secure, and this ribbon here just really helps you to pull the flap out. And of course, when you open it, you have the mirror here, so if you're traveling, if you're going anywhere, it's very easy to just apply your eye look. And of course, there's a plastic covering for the eyeshadows, and each of the eyeshadows here are actually in a magnetized pan, so you can actually remove one tiny pan from the palette. And if you have your own magnetized palette, you can actually create your own color story and eyeshadow palette based on this or with your other Petit Mattes. Now the reason why I decided to purchase the Petit Mattes is because I live for matte eyeshadows. They are very important to me, especially in my job, because they are the ones that help me to create definition on the eye. Now, I'm just so glad that they released this, because a lot of the eyeshadows in the market right now, especially from very popular brands, they all have, like, you know, some shimmer in it. They have a very satin-like finish. some of them have very glittery finish. And the problem with using eyeshadows like that, although if they're very pigmented, like they go on extremely nice on the eyes, but sometimes these very glittery formulas, they tend to make you lose the definition on your eye. Example, if you're putting like this very nice glittery, highly pigmented eyeshadow into your socket line, and when you move and then the light hits that part, all of the shimmers actually reflect that light and you actually lose the definition there. Like that's why sometimes especially with people like me who have heavy brow bones here, if there's just too much shimmer in this part, this space here just becomes very exaggerated and it just makes my eyes look heavy. And that's when I actually use matte eyeshadows. This will just really help me to define that part, to create a nice lift, and to diminish this space here. And also, based on my makeup collection that I have here, I have a lot of cream eyeshadow products, and I like using cream shimmery eyeshadow products with matte eyeshadows because they just help me to create dimension and the eye look that I want. So that's also one thing that you have to consider. You don't have to buy every single piece of Viseart Petites Mattes that's available, but as I've shown you guys earlier, each of these Petites Mattes have different color stories, and all you have to do is just choose which Petite Matte will actually work with your eye color and your skin tone and your current eyeshadow makeup collection. So if you have a lot of shimmery products and if you don't have any mattes, then having one palette like this can work for you. Oh, and by the way, having matte eyeshadows at your disposal, the possibilities are endless because you can just scrape one eyeshadow and get its pigments, and then you can mix it into a highlighter, and then that can enhance the color of the highlighter. Or you can even scrape some of the colors here and then put it and mix it in with a cream lipstick, and then it enhances the lipstick, and you can even create your own lip color using any of these. And of course, because these are mattes, and if you have the Inglot Duraline, you can actually create your own eyeliner, and it would really last. So can you imagine how many eyeliners you can create by using this palette alone and the Inglot Duraline? So again, the possibilities are endless with having matte eyeshadows at your disposal. Alright, so right now what we're going to do is we're just going to play around with these eyeshadow colors, and then create maybe a nice natural look here on one eye and maybe a nice smoky look on one eye. And I just want to play around with any of the colors that's found here on my table right now. So I'm not going to use one palette exclusively. I might dip from one palette to another. But for sure, I think I'm going to be concentrating by playing with the warm Petite Mattes because I think this will look great on my skin. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some eye base, and I'm going to be using the Viseart eye base. And I'm just applying the eye base all over my eye so that the eyeshadows that I'm going to apply will just have some hold. And it's really important that you have to have you have to use an eye base because, again, as I've said earlier, when we look at the swatching on my arm, they tend to become very powdery, and it might get prone to fall out. Now the thing with Viseart eye primers is that you can actually feel it tighten on your eyelid. So if you're not used to it, it might feel uncomfortable, but because of this tightening feeling, I feel that it creates a much more smoother surface on your eye. So at least when we use the eyeshadows later, it just glides on the eyelid. Alright, and I'm just going to move a little bit closer, and I'm going to start by picking up some of this color here. And as you guys can see, this is how it appears on this PS4 brush. And I'm just going to use this as an overall eyeshadow, like a base color. But as you guys can see, My eyelid is now a little bit much more brighter, and it's also more even, and my redness has toned down, so at least it gives us a very nice, like, even workable space when we're creating a nice eye look. Alright, so now I'm going to pick up a little bit of this color here and this color here. Look how much color this brush picks up. A little bit worried, so I'm going to remove some of the excess color here at the back of my hand. And as you guys can see, it's very, very powdery. So we just have to be very, very careful. And I'm going to apply this here along my socket line, like as a transition shade. And I'm just going to blend it so that we have some definition of color there. Okay, and now I'm just going to add more intensity, and I'm just going to build my shape, and I'm going to bring it up into my brow bone just so that it minimizes that area. Okay, now I'm going to pick up this color here, although if it's warm it also leans a little bit neutral. So this is what I'm going to use to enhance my socket line. And as you guys can see how pigmented this eye color is, super amazing. So let me remove some of that at the back of my hand, and I'm just going to enhance my socket eye some more, and I'm just building the intensity, and this will also help me to create the shape that I want. Look at that. Now I'm just gonna go back to the blending brush that I used earlier for my transition shade, and I'm just going to buff that out and just mix both colors and blur out the edges. It's a very nice, like, neutral color, although it's still warm leaning, but it just creates this very nice shadowy look on the eye, and it has already helped me minimize all the area of my, very heavy set eye brow bone area. And now with the same brownie shade, I'm just gonna pick up some of that here. Look at all of that pigment on this brush head. I'm gonna remove some of it at the back of my hand, and now I'm just going to apply it all over my upper lash line just to create a nice, soft yet defined lash line. And truthfully, working with matte eyeshadow colors would really help you with your artistry, because matte eyeshadows are very difficult to work with, and if you're able to learn how to blend them out, this just really, it brings your skill set to a much more higher level. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm getting a little bit of this, very red tone brown here, and I'm using this brush. This is from Hakuhodo, and this is the S144 brush. And the reason why I'm using this brush is because this brush will not pick up a ton of color, and I'm just going to apply it here on my lower lash line, concentrating in the outer portions. Then now I'm going back to this more neutral brown here, and I'm just gonna layer it here so that we just have a nice dimension of color. And I'm gonna lift it, and then I'm gonna blend it into the outer V portion of my eye so that we have a nice, well blended eye color look. And then I'm going back into the brush that I used earlier, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of this reddish brown tone, and I'm just going to apply that here just to blend everything, just to bring in some warmth and to blend it out. Alright, now I'm moving over to the Milieu palette, and I'm going to be picking up some of this color here. This is the color Cacao, so I'm just disturbing the pigment here on the pan, and I'm actually transferring a little bit of that here at the back of my hand. So as you guys can see, we have a nice buildup of product there. And then I'm just picking up now the Duraline from Inglot, and I'm applying it here. And with a very fine, eyeliner brush, I'm mixing the two products together now, and this is what I'll use as an eyeliner. So I'm just going to apply a very thin layer here on my upper lash line just to enhance our lash line, my lash line some more, just to give it more dimension. And as you guys can see, I now have a very nice, strong eyeliner, but it's still very neutral. It's still very brown, and if you're someone who prefers to wear your eye makeup this way, as I've said earlier, having a matte eyeshadow, and if you have this Duraline from Inglot, you can create whatever eyeliner color that you want. Okay, so now I'm just gonna wait until this dries in my eyes before I enhance it some more. Okay, and now I'm just gonna apply some mascara. Alright, and just like that, I think I'm done. So you can see that I have created a very nice defined eye look, which has really helped me in creating a very nice lifted eye look on my eye, and it has really diminished the heaviness of my brow bone. And also one other thing, if I go to the side, as you guys can see here, it's also well blended. My eyes are also well emphasized, and if I go here, it's also well emphasized, and it's just like enhancing my eye in general. So I'm really happy with that. Now, as I've said earlier, if you have a lot of shimmery eyeshadows at your disposal and you can only wear, or if you prefer to wear those types of eyeshadows only like, after work. So this type of an eye look is a nice base look that you can create when you are going to the office, and if you just want to enhance it a bit, like if you are like going out after work for maybe drinks or dinner with friends and colleagues, you can just like enhance this eye look. Like for example, I have this caviar stick in Intense Moonlight, and I'm just going to apply this here all over my eyelid, and I'm just going to use my fingers to blend this out. And just like that, with one swipe of this cream eyeshadow stick, it has enhanced my eye look, elevated it a little bit, but it has still maintained that very nice, delicate eye look that we created earlier. Alright, and now what I want to do is I want to create a smoky look on this eye. Now, I don't know what color story I'm going to use, but I'm feeling a bit red, like I'm reflecting the color of my wall and maybe of my shirt, but I'm just being playful because I haven't created a very red smoky eye recently, so let's just play it by ear. So I want to start by picking up this pinky shade here. I just picked up a little bit of the product on this brush, and I'm just removing it here at the back of my hand, and I'm just going to apply that here all over my socket line. So it's like acting as a transition shade, and I'm just buffing it out and spreading it and creating a nice dimension on my eyes. Okay, now I'm picking up this color here. Ooh, look at that, look how intense that is. So I'm just going to remove some of it at the back of my hand, and I'm just going to pat it here all over my lids. And it's creating a very nice intense look already. Great coverage. Okay, so I just have to remove the excess here, and I'm just flipping the brush, and now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to blend the pigment well into my crease. I'm going back and using the brush that I used earlier for that pinky tone, and I'm just blurring the edges. So I'm gonna go back into that already red color here. Look at that, look at how much pigment this eyeshadow palette releases. Okay, so I'm just gonna be applying that here on my lower lash line. Okay, now I'm just going to blend that into my outer V portion and blend it well into my crease and socket line. Again, blending is always the key. Don't be scared when you're doing smoky eye looks. Just blend effortlessly. Wow, look at that. It's making my eye color come out. Amazing. Alright, so now I'm going to dip my brush into one of the colors here of the Milieu palette. This very nice, moody, violety, browny red color here. And I'm just going to use that here all over my upper lash line. Look at that color. Look at that color payoff. Amazing, no? Okay, now I'm going back to the same color that I use on my lash line. Then I'm removing the excess here at the back of my hand. And I'm going to use that just to enhance the outer V portion of my eye. And I'm going to also enhance my socket line. Wow, look at that. I love it. What do you guys think? Love the intensity. And I do have to say, the blendability of these eyeshadows are amazing. And I don't see any patchiness happening, because sometimes that's what happens. You know, when you're blending matte eyeshadows, sometimes they lift from each other, and sometimes it creates like holes on your eyeshadow look. But with this one, it doesn't. And mind you, this is what I say, when you're working with matte eyeshadows, it really helps your skills in blending, because matte eyeshadows are not forgivable. You really have to blend them. And of course, there's some fallout that has happened. But then again, that's already expected, because most of the eye brushes that I was using today was very, you know, they have a very full belly in their brush heads. Like for example, this is the Worker 3 brush from Sonia G. So it's a very full belly, so it's very dense. And if you're using a very dense brush, they will pick up more pigment, and when you start to deliver them on your eyelid, you will always have fallout. So if you're creating a smoky eye look on yourself, always do your smoky eye look first before your foundation, because it'll be easier to clean your makeup. Okay, now I'm just adding some of that deep browny red color into my lower lash line now, just for some dimension. I'm concentrating the color close to my lash line as possible. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to pick up this what's a deep blue color? It's almost black. And I'm just going to use that here on my upper lash line now. Because the thing is, I don't have a black eyeshadow from any of the Petit Mattes that I purchased, because that matte black eyeshadow is actually found on the neutral palette of the Petit Matte. So this deep like navy blue will work for me today. It will just really enhance my eye look, and that blue pigment will just really help to bring out the yellow tones of my eye color. Alright, and with the same brush that I used to apply the blue eyeshadow on my upper lash line, I'm also going to use that here on my lower lash line. Okay, and now I'm just enhancing the outer V portion with that nice blue shade. So it's like we're having this very nice, like, you know, the color of sunset on my eyes right now. Okay, and I'm just blurring out the edges. I'm seeing a lot of fallout now. Which again is to be expected. Alright, and with that dark blue color, I'm just putting some here at the back of my hand, and I'm applying a little bit of the Duraline from Inglot. So that's well mixed now, and I'm just going to apply some of that here on my upper lash line, just so that we have a much more smokier appearance. And I'm also going to use that here on my outer, like, you know, eyelid area, making sure that I connect this space here, because I have this crease here, and if I don't add any of the darkness there, it's just going to destroy the illusion of a lift that I was actually trying to create. Okay, now I'm just going to add some mascara. Look at that. So let me just clean up all of the fallout that I have here. Wow, look at that smoky eye. Don't you guys just love that? I love it. Okay, I just want to add a little bit more of some just drama. So I'm picking up a little bit of the yellow here, and I'm just going to use this as highlight in my inner eyelid. It's not going to do much. It's going to blend with the red tones of the eyeshadow that I applied earlier, but at least we can see here on screen that it's just adding like a hint of color there. So I think I want to add some concealer here on my under eye area, so that we guys can just see how, like, you know, my eyes will pop out when we have this very nice, like, you know, when we've removed all of the uneven colors here in my under eye area. I'll be right back. so this is the concealer now applied in my under eye area. And I actually used the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. So this is the first time that I used it ever on myself, and I do love it. I love that it kind of like matches my skin tone. It's like my skin tone. It's not white, but it's just perfect. What color is this? I can't find it. What color is... I think this is a 130. I think I need to check my receipt because I actually threw out the box already, but I do love it. So now that the concealer is on in my under eye area, you guys can see how amazingly pigmented these eyeshadows are, and I do love this smoky red eye that I created here. Very nice, very intense. It's like sunset. Ooh, look at that. And I also love this very, like, natural looking eye. Well, not natural because, like, you can see that I have some eyeshadow on, but it has really helped enhance my eyes, but it's more delicate, more natural looking. Like, it's not overpowering. It's just perfect for a very nice day look. Alright, so that's it. So this is my video for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed me showing you the Viseart Petite Matte palette. I do love it. I think this is a very good buy, especially for someone like me. And I really love, like, getting to know these palettes, discovering how intense the pigments are, the blendability, and, just how versatile they are. We can create a very nice, like, light eye makeup look, a very intense eye makeup look. I love that. And, like, they're very, very easy to use, and you can use them in more ways than one. I know that I just show you guys, like, I'm just using it on my eyes right now, but, with some of the colors here, you can even, like, use them for contouring. Like, you can use them to contour your nose, your lip area, or if you want to have a much more intense, like, contouring for your cheekbones, you can just use a very nice small brush. Make sure that they're quite fluffy, like this Mizuho brush here. You can be very, very intense with this, because the only challenge with this palette is actually the size. But if you have the right brush at your disposal, again, as I've said earlier, you can create a multiple number of looks using these 4 palettes. Well, all the palettes actually. Anywho, I'm gonna let you guys go now because I just had a drop-down alert saying that my phone is low on battery. So I think it's just quite timely because I'm also hungry. It's around lunchtime now. So anywho, I hope that you enjoyed me showing you guys all of the Petit Matte eyeshadow palettes that I got from Viseart. And if you have any more questions, please leave them down at the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye, guys.